Coming up on today's show, is Tyrese Maxey untouchable in a trade? And could the Philadelphia 76ers be the only team in the NBA who could trade for Kyrie Irving? That's all coming your way. But first, the kid was hooping last night. Philadelphia's son Tyrese Maxey going off for 31 points in a loss against the Bucks. If you were impressed by him, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and let's hop into today's show. What's good, my fellow Philly Bulls? You're watching Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Sr. First up on today's show docket, is Tyrese Maxey untouchable in any trade that would include Ben Simmons? Let's start to explore that just a bit. But first, my man was going off last night against the Milwaukee Bucks, and this was without the services of a couple of key players on this Philadelphia 76ers roster: Joel Embiid, Isaiah Joe, Tobias Harris, Matisse Thybulle, all out because of COVID-related reasons, and Seth Curry, one of the go-to players on the offensive end of the floor, who's been a big surprise this year with his ability to just be unconscious from the floor shooting the basketball, out because of a foot injury, that injury not expected to linger long-term. As for Tyrese Maxey, arguably his best game as a pro. There was a game last year when he went off when there were other COVID-related reasons for players being out last year, and he went off for 30-plus points. But last night against the defending NBA champions, Tyrese Maxey went in, and you saw what we've been seeing flashes of, but from a more consistency standpoint. 31 points, 4 dimes, 12 of 24 from the deck, and 4 of 9 from deep. What I like about Maxey and what I saw last night that I really liked, he's everything that we thought Markelle Fultz was going to be when the Sixers had drafted him a couple of years ago. A 3-level scorer who's got a little bit of shiftiness to his game as well as offensive wiggle. A guy who can really create for himself and in the open floor, and also create for some of his teammates. He had command of the offense last night, and he has shown flashes in that second-round series against the Atlanta Hawks last year, matched up against Trae Young last night, and at times this season, of really good defensive ability. And I thought it was crazy when the TNT show said last night that down the stretch the Sixers were bereft and missed a point guard presence. What are you talking about? Tyrese Maxey turned in a very good performance when he didn't have his normal supporting cast around him. He was asked to do a lot, and he rose to the occasion. His numbers so far in the 2021-2022 season are pretty solid. And I'm not going to say that I'm a genie, but I did say that Tyrese Maxey has the ability to average 15 to 20 points per game per night without Ben Simmons, because he's simply going to be asked to do more offensively. And he has certainly done that in the early portion of this year. He's averaging a tick under 16 per. I'd like to see the assist numbers go up just a bit. It's a little shallow of 5, but what I wanted to see from Tyrese Maxey from last year into the NBA Summer League, going into his sophomore campaign, him becoming a more consistent shooter and just being a little bit more of an efficient playmaker in terms of putting the biscuit in the basket. He's been able to do that. 49% shooting and a little less than 39% from distance. Those numbers have gone up the last couple of weeks from beyond the arc. That's a great sign that Maxey has some growth to his game. I was thinking about this as I was putting this show script together and just kind of forming my opinions for today's 76ers Now. Imagine if Doc Rivers would have had the stones in that second round series against the Atlanta Hawks to all just straight up bench Ben Simmons. If he benched Ben Simmons and just played Tyrese Maxey, could the Sixers have won that series? A very tough pill to swallow for Ben Simmons and a tough move to make if you were Doc Rivers, but I think it would have helped out the 76ers because when Ben Simmons was on the floor, the offense was limited. He was just choking from the free throw line and just shooting the basketball, giving it up for Matisse Thybulle on the infamous no dunk. And I think Maxey would have provided this offense much more of a spark in those latter games of that series. Tyrese Maxey is simply, folks, what Ben Simmons isn't. A 3-level scorer, a playmaker, a creator. He's really exciting in the open floor, more of a threat to opposing defenses because he can pull up or get to the basket. And his willingness to grow his offensive game, to put an onus on just basically expanding his offensive arsenal, is everything that Ben Simmons has neglected to do over the last couple of years. And people have raved about Tyrese Maxey's want to to improve his offensive game, whereas Ben Simmons has never showed the willingness to improve his offensive game. As for Tyrese Maxey being a, quote, untouchable trade asset, Jake Fischer of Bleacher Report saying this recently in a report. In those conversations with Houston last year for James Harden, the Sixers were said to have discussed each of Tyrese Maxey and Matisse Thybulle in addition to Simmons and multiple first-round picks. Today, though, Sixers staffers have been encouraged by the early returns of Tyrese Maxey as a starting guard, and the 21-year-old would seem to be untouchable in any Simmons trade conversation that did not, and I repeat, did not bring back an all-NBA guard such as Damian Lillard or Bradley Beal. I have said it here on the channel, and I'm going to continue to say it. I don't want to trade away Tyrese Maxey. He's young. He has boatloads of potential. We've seen the growth happen before our eyes and very quickly. He's also really affordable. I wouldn't give him up for a CJ McCollum, a De'Aaron Fox, a Colin Sexton, any of those types, maybe even a Brandon Ingram as well. But when it comes down to a Bradley Beal or a Damian Lillard, I'm not sure what I'd do. If that is the final piece to get one of those deals done, Daryl Morey might be tempted to include Tyrese Maxey in one of those trades. And at that point, I would certainly think about it. But man, I love what I'm seeing from the kid. I certainly called it before the season. I voiced my opinions. I want you now to voice your opinions in the comments section. If it came down to including Maxey to get back Bradley Beal or Damian Lillard, would you do it? Type T for trade, type K for keep. Get those votes in. Also, we're going like crazy here on Philadelphia 76ers now. I am a fellow Philadelphia Bull. Grew up in Westchester, went to Temple. I love this city, and I've loved being able to grow this channel. More subscribers simply equals more videos. New York Knicks now almost at 3K subs. Let's catch up to them. As for the latest on Kyrie Irving, hasn't played a game this season for the Brooklyn Nets. According to the organization and their general manager, Kyrie cannot join the team until he's a full participant. He's not able to become a full participant until he is vaccinated. Now, I simply don't really care about Kyrie Irving's vaccination status, just like I don't care about Aaron Rodgers' vaccination status. But it is worthy of talking about because New York City rules right now do not allow Kyrie Irving to play in regular season games in Brooklyn because of their vaccine mandate of there being an in-house event, right? So Kyrie Irving, until he is vaccinated, not going to be able to partake in home games. Now, if the Brooklyn Nets wanted to allow him to be a part-time participant, he would, even with these NYC rules, be able to practice with the Brooklyn Nets. He would also be able to play in any away games outside of San Francisco and New York City. Crazy rules, I know, but those are the rules that Kyrie Irving and the Brooklyn Nets are dealing with. They just don't want Kyrie Irving to be a part-time participant, and I can see why, because in terms of gelling together as a team, in terms of getting some type of continuity together, it's kind of hard to find a rhythm when you have Kyrie for some games and then you don't have him for the rest of games. The Brooklyn Nets have no doubt struggled to start the year. Through the first 11 games, they are 7-4. Kevin Durant continues to play like an MVP. But have you seen James Harden? He's overweight. His hustle has been a problem. His production is way down because of the rule changes and the change of the basketball going from Spalding to Wilson, and a lot of players who are high-volume scorers have complained about the change of the basketball, and James Harden has struggled because of that, and the Brooklyn Nets as a whole have struggled as a team. They're certainly missing Kyrie Irving. Yes, he's flaky. He's not the most reliable dude out there, but he's one of the most crafty offensive players that we've ever seen. He's one of the best bucket getters that we've seen in modern NBA history. You take a peek at what he did last year. Yes, he was missing at times, which was very confounding to me, but when he was on the floor, he was great. Almost 27 points per game, 6 dimes, little less than 5 boards, and from three-point range, he shot north of 40%, and there's so much volume there, which is really just goes to show you how good Kyrie Irving was last year. An anonymous NBA executive, though, to Hoops Hype, did say this, that the Philadelphia 76ers might be the only team in the NBA that could actually pull off a trade for Kyrie. That anonymous NBA exec saying this, quote, I would have said Philly legitimately made sense with the swap of Ben Simmons and Kyrie. That's a team I could have seen who's going for it and needs a scoring guard. That's literally the only one I could see. I'd be interested in Kyrie Irving for a player-for-player swap. Ben Simmons and Kyrie have similar contracts, so the money would be able to work. You look at the struggles for Philadelphia. It all comes down to late-game execution. I know that they were without some of their best players because of COVID and injury reasons against the Milwaukee Bucks, but this has been a common theme this year, last year, the year before that. Ever since Jimmy Butler left, they don't have a go-to scorer down the stretch, and I don't think you can rely on a center in today's NBA to be your primary bucket getter late in games. Kyrie Irving would be that for Philadelphia. It's just really tough to trust Kyrie. He's not consistently available. Sometimes he's away from the team and doesn't even tell the team why he is away from the team. You just never know when this guy is going to be available. He's been injury prone. There's the whole COVID snafu. There's also him as a culture fit. There's been a common theme that I think is problematic. He wanted to be the guy in Cleveland, so he didn't want to play any longer with LeBron James. There are infamous stories about him in Boston basically just cratering and ruining that Boston Celtics culture. So he gets out of Boston, then he goes to Brooklyn, and last year he doesn't tell Steve Nash why he's away from the team because of personal reasons, and then he's just like, yeah, I'm dealing with personal problems. I don't have to expand on that. I'm not going to join the team. And then this year hasn't played a game at all. Like, how do you think Kevin Durant and James Harden are feeling? They both come to Brooklyn with hopes that it's going to be one of the most fearsome big threes ever in NBA history with Kyrie Irving in the equation. He hasn't been part of the equation, though. I do think, though, that Ben Simmons could work in Brooklyn. Guy doesn't want to shoot the basketball. Guy doesn't want to work on his offensive arsenal. Those are facts right now. He doesn't want to own up to his mistakes because Ben Simmons is stubborn and he has no accountability. I think he'd be able to work in Brooklyn because he wouldn't have to shoot the basketball at all. Just let James Harden, Joe Harris, Kevin Durant do all that, and then he can be the primary creator as the starting point guard without the services of Kyrie Irving. And then you have Patty Mills as a backup who's a little bit of a playmaker as well. So what's your level of interest in Kyrie? If you're Daryl Morey, Doc Rivers, Elton Brand, who's kind of a shadow GM nowadays, and the Sixers organization, scale it for me from 1 to 100. 1 being not interested at all, 100 being very interested. Voice your opinions in the comment section. I'm going to go back to see what you all come up with.